Before we conclude the meeting, we just have one final announcement to read to the congregation, a brief announcement. Barfour Che is no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
What's up, YouTube? It's Beautiful Flex. I'm back again. All right, I've been gone for a bit. I just wanted to explain why I've been gone, what I've been going through, and actually just explain my story a little bit and how there's been light at the end of the tunnel type thing, right? So let's get to it. So,
in case you didn't already know, I grew up in the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses. I was brainwashed in this cult from infancy to around the age of 19. Now, this cult has a lot of controlling things, and I'm gonna try to summarize them pretty quickly because this isn't entirely what this video is about. But anyway, Jehovah's Witnesses control a lot of things. For example, family. You're meant to only spend time with witnesses majority of the time. So if you have family that aren't witnesses, you're not meant to spend unnecessary time with them. So if you don't live with them, you're not meant to spend a whole bunch of time with them. Things like that. Now, for me, my father wasn't a witness. In fact, he actually opposed the religion. He didn't like the religion. He thought it was controlling, and he basically thought it was what it was. Let's be honest. Basically, I was discouraged from spending a lot of time with him. I was actually convinced that Satan, the devil himself, was controlling my father. Friends, you were only meant to have friends that were in the religion. So friends outside the religion weren't your friends. They were your colleagues or your schoolmates, but they weren't your school friends. Instead, you would leave your schoolmates at the school gates. So at school, I had a whole bunch of friends, a whole bunch of people that liked me, but I probably spent time with them outside of school 3 times maximum. And that was me being disobedient. That was kind of in secret. Okay, so there's that. Education. They really discourage going for higher education. So things like university, although it does happen, it's very frowned upon, and it's discouraged. In fact, we even have a movie where some woman decided to go back into school, and long story short, her family started falling apart for some reason, right? It was a propaganda movie that they gave to witnesses. Sports. You can play sports all you want, but you cannot compete professionally. You mean you can, but it's highly frowned upon. Hence why Serena Williams, who happens to be a Jehovah's Witness, waited till after her career pretty much to get baptized, because it's highly frowned upon. Career. You're not meant to have a career. You're meant to have a job. So you're not meant to pursue anything that you're passionate about, or anything in general. You're meant to have a job, something to help you get by whilst you focus on knocking on doors or building construction, real estate for the organization. If you have talents, your talents aren't for you, it's for them. If you're strong, great, you can be a builder for them. If you can sing, great, you can sing their songs for them. All of this free of charge. Entertainment. You're not meant to consume a lot of entertainment that isn't from them. So most of the time, they even had a whole TV called JW Broadcasting, which is where they basically had this whole TV channel where they constantly had different things shown to you, because this is a brainwashing tactic where you're basically just consumed solely by the cult. Your medical choices were controlled. One in particular is blood transfusions. You were not allowed to have blood transfusions. This is based on a misinterpreted scripture from the Bible. Misinterpreted, but nonetheless, you're not allowed to have blood transfusion, and many people have lost their lives because of refusing blood transfusions. Politically silenced. You're not allowed to vote. You're not allowed to do anything political, even in your heart. You're not allowed to vote at all. If you do vote, you'll get disfellowshipped, excommunicated, which leads to shunning. This is, of course, biased because you are meant to be political if it's for their interest. For example, when Putin banned Jehovah's Witnesses in, I think, 2017, Jehovah's Witnesses all had to write a letter to Putin to tell him to, signed by themselves, by the way, their own name. Even children wrote these letters. I did as well as a child, but we all wrote letters to Putin to say, don't ban witnesses, unban them, blah blah blah, whatever. You're meant to be obedient to the government unless the government tells you to be disobedient to them. So the organization is number one. So if the government says do something and the organization says don't, then you don't, right? You're also not allowed to listen to any outside sources. So information about the religion from outside sources you're not meant to look at. It's all called apostasy. And lastly, just the control in general. They have a really strict snitching system so that they can control whatever you are doing, because it's all reported back to them. I was brainwashed in this, and I believed that ideology, basically that the world was going to end, something they've been saying for the past 150 plus years, and I genuinely believed in it, like with my whole heart. So from a kid, I genuinely believed that the world was going to end. By the time I even came to the UK, I went to the UK because I grew up in Norway, came here, I believed the world was going to end by the time I entered secondary school. Then I believed it was going to end by the time I sat my exams at 16. Then I believed it would end by the time I was 18. Then because of COVID, it was supposed to be a sign that it was the last of the last days. Like really, this is the final part.
In the final part of the last days, undoubtedly the final part of the final part of the last days, shortly before the last day of the last days.
Well, that was 3 years ago. Obviously, over time, you realize that isn't the case. Just to drill this in, my dad grew up in a town called Agogo in Ghana. And in that town, there was witnesses there as well. This was before 1960 or 1961. This is before 1975, where Jehovah's Witnesses believed that the world was going to end. And they had this saying, stay alive till 75. So a lot of witnesses were selling their homes and stuff like that. And basically saying, oh yeah, Armageddon is coming. Of course, after 1975, nothing happened. But that's basically what they've been doing. So I genuinely believed in it. I was genuinely brainwashed from infancy till 19. And then I woke up from the brainwashing and my whole worldview just collapsed. And I became extremely suicidal. I was depressed, but not really depressed at that point. I was just suicidal. I just didn't understand life. I was so like, I don't get it. I was so used to believing that I understood everything, that I knew, because you were taught, so I was so convinced that I understood that, one, realizing that I knew nothing, I knew just as much as the next man. I was lost. I was so suicidal. There was no other way to end my confusion at that point. I just wanted to see what happens after I die. And that hurt. It's hard to explain if you've never been brainwashed, but it's kind of like, I can't even explain it. Anyways, it just was a real shock. Then I realized I wanted to leave the religion, the denomination of the religion. I wanted to leave. There was a few reasons I wanted to leave. Number one reason was I'm genuine, right? I'm honest. I don't want to be part of something I don't believe is true. That's not me, right? I want to be completely honest and true to who I am. Secondly, there was a lot of kids that looked up to me. I was held to a high regard, deemed as very, very talented, very intelligent, a good speaker. So a lot of people looked up to me, older people and younger people. And I didn't want to lead by example, in case anyone was doubting the religion themselves. I didn't want them to think, oh, well, Barfour's still in it. So I wanted to make sure that I was being honest enough, but also not having a negative influence by pretending that it was true. Alongside that, I wanted the freedom to make my own medical choices, my own medical decisions. We had a blood card when I was in it, a card which was an advanced medical decision to not get a blood transfusion, right? In case you were unconscious, so that they could still remember not to give you a blood transfusion. This was obligatory. You didn't have a choice, right? I signed my blood card, I believe, when I was underage as well. I was under 18. But for some reason, I was able to sign it. So I signed this blood card and it has witnesses that have signed it with you and everything like that. And you have, as a result, you have one of the Jehovah's Witnesses who doesn't have a degree in anything biological, any medicine. The one who was responsible for me and the people I knew actually worked in selling air conditioners. He would then contact the hospital and ensure that you were not given a blood transfusion, to the point where I know someone who actually was unconscious for a very long time. He was in a coma and needed a blood transfusion. So the higher up members of the religion made sure to contact his wife to let him know that he didn't want a blood transfusion. He signed the piece of paper, and that if she wanted to give him a blood transfusion, she was going to have to go to court against them because they have it on paper. I didn't want none of that. I didn't want anything to happen to me. I didn't want to get in some accident or whatever and not be allowed a blood transfusion for something that I know isn't true, is misinterpreted. So that was another reason I said, you know what, I want to be gone with this religion. I don't want their control. I also didn't want to be controlled by men I did not know. There was 8 men controlling this religion that I never met. I don't know if they're good people or if they're bad. Well, now I know they're bad people, but I didn't know back then. And I did not want to be controlled by men I did not know, nor did I respect. So I didn't want their control over me, because that was where the control hierarchy came from. Alongside that, I didn't want to be in opposition to Putin, believe it or not. During World War II, they had some beef with one of their leaders. Rutherford had beef with Hitler, actually. And he tried to ingratiate the organization with Hitler and his movement. They were very anti-Semitic. And long story short, Hitler didn't buy into that. The leader actually urged the people to write letters to Hitler himself. I'm not even joking. Basically threatening with bad press. If you don't allow witnesses again, we're going to give you bad press to the Western countries. And so as a result, Hitler decided to put them into concentration camps. So the people genuinely believed they were doing it for some good reason, but it was just because of their leader. I wanted none of that. I already wrote my letter to Putin, so I wanted to sign myself out because I don't want no beef. And listen, if you're listening, I don't want no beef, okay? On top of that, child sexual abuse. So Jehovah's Witnesses have this thing where they don't want any negative press. If a pope touches kids, if a priest touches kids and he's a Catholic, they say, wow, this is evidence that God isn't backing these people. Look at this corruption. But if a Jehovah's Witness minister touches kids, they don't report it to the police because they don't want negative press, so that no one knows that this is happening. In fact, in Australia, the Australian Royal Commission came and found out that there was over 1,000 in Australia, if I'm not mistaken. It was Australia or worldwide, I don't remember, but it was 1,000 unreported child sexual abuse cases. So these predators were still lurking around and they were not reported to the police. They have it within the religion, but not to the police. And I didn't want nothing to do with it, because all my life, I don't know. I could have been around a bunch of predators that I didn't even know were predators, right? So I didn't want anything to do with that. And finally, I wanted the freedom to box. You aren't allowed to box if you're a Jehovah's Witness. You can't box professionally, at least. And I wanted to box because they're taking so much of my opportunity from a young age, you know, because I wasn't able to pursue sports. I'm extremely athletic, but I never pursued sports. Why? Because of them. In fact, there was actually a point when I was like 13, 14, where two of the ministers in the religion spoke to me and said, look, we find that you're focusing too much on sports. You're enjoying sports too much. You're training too much. You should be focusing on the ministry, which is the preaching work. Basically discouraging me from working out. I'm not even joking. And as a result, I didn't pursue professional sports in any field. My PE teacher used to get at me, used to nag at me saying, you need to join an athletics team. But I never did, you know, because yet again, they even had a movie down talking it. So I didn't pursue it. And I wanted the freedom to box at this point, because that was the only sport at this age that I knew that I could actually pursue at 20 when I started boxing, that I could pursue, even though it was quite late. It was the only sport that I could pursue and actually have a career in, given my genetic gifts as well at that older age. So I wanted to box, but yet again, they banned boxing. You're not allowed to box professionally and be a Jehovah's Witness. So I'd get kicked out, excommunicated, and yet again shunned, treated like I'm dead from all these other people, because they have this shunning policy. So these are the reasons that I chose to leave this religion. So I chose to leave the religion, and then I was hit with their final controlling thing. I've kind of alluded to and explained it a little bit. They have extreme shunning, and this is something that they used to down talk years ago, but now they actually implement it. So if you break any of their rules, you are kicked out. But not only if you break any of their rules, if you choose to leave, if you say, look, this isn't for me, you can do what you want, I don't want anything to do with this, you are shunned. And that means you are treated like you're dead. Unless they absolutely have to talk to you, they will never talk to you. Even if they're family, this could be your brother, this could be your mother, they will shun you. I know a guy who was kicked out of his parents' house. His parents still don't talk to him. He literally got married a couple months ago. His parents didn't even come to his wedding. And I just deeped like, oh, you can be shunned for leaving. I always thought you would only get shunned if you broke one of their rules, but I didn't realize you can be shunned if you simply say, I don't believe this, I don't consent to their authority. And that really messed me up, because I got baptized at a young age of 12. And at 12, you're too young to have a girlfriend, according to the religion. You're too young to have a girlfriend at 18 as well. You have to be like 20. So I was kind of disobedient. You won't get this fellowship for it, but it's really heavily frowned upon. You're too young to do many things at that age, but you are allowed to get baptized, which is basically signing into their authority, right? To control you, to say, look, I must submit to these rules. If not, you can disfellowship me or whatever, excommunicate me, and I can be shunned. And I made that decision at the young age of 12, right? And I was really vexed, thinking like, yo, so now that I realize what this religion is, and I don't stand for this religion, I've not broken a single rule. I just don't want to be part of this religion. So I want to leave. And knowing that I was going to be punished for a decision I made at 12 years old for changing my beliefs, which is in direct violation of your human rights, right? Knowing that, it made me very, very depressed. This was before it even started happening. Then I did leave, and I was shunned, and it was horrible. As of today, I've left this, and I've had a mixture of feelings. Believe it or not, like low-key feelings of fear. Like, it's weird because of the awaiting repercussions of this religion, as in being shunned, knowing that people will say certain things about me, knowing that people won't talk to me, I won't even be able to explain myself. Even the household environment, knowing that I'm silenced. I also had an extreme amount of relief earlier, finally leaving the supposed authority of this religion, not being bound by the elders, not having to answer to them. Obviously, I know that this was false, but I think finally removing the consent, essentially saying I no longer consent to your control, has been very liberating. It's made me want to strive for greatness more. It's made me want to work more towards my career. But above everything is it's just a lot of mixed emotions. I hope I'll be at a better place sometime in the future. I had a lot of people that I held close that I believed were family, and I felt like they were family, and they don't talk to me. At the time I first made the 2 videos, I hadn't actually experienced it live. I just experienced it on text. I've seen witnesses. I've walked around in town, I've gone to shops, and they walk past you like you do not exist. I've seen people that I formerly trained with at the gym. You guys might recognize one of the people. He was on my videos back in the day. I've seen him at the gym, and he treats me like I'm completely dead. All of them do. And it's extremely, extremely painful. So I became suicidal. There was no reason for me to live at this point. My whole worldview was flipped upside down. And now everyone who I thought I knew, who I thought were my friends, who I thought were my family, aren't talking to me. Conveniently though, my blood was talking to me to a degree, and I'll explain that a bit later. At least I had my father as well, who I was really close to. So I became suicidal. I didn't go outside for a long time. I would either order my shopping or I'd go shopping really, really late where I knew they wouldn't be out. I was so depressed. I can't even begin to explain it. I was lost for one after leaving, but then being shunned, I think that just tore me completely down. I felt like I'd experienced my own funeral, and then after actually experiencing the shunning, I felt like I'd experienced my own death. It was horrible, and I became suicidal, but on another level. Now I've dabbled into suicidal feelings, not dabbled into it. I've felt suicidal before, as a result of this religion and the fear mongering. There's moments where you think, I'm never going to be able to be saved, basically, so I might as well just myself, right? Because you're never doing anything right in this religion. And I'm gonna be honest, the only reason I never myself growing up was because I never found a painless method. I kept looking into things like, okay, how could I myself? There's no guns in the UK, so I can't do that. I'm not gonna stab myself because I don't know, what if I stab the wrong part and now I'm just bleeding and I'm just in pain? I want something quick and painless. Yeah, I was like, well, I can't end my life with a knife. Sorry, YouTube, I can't do that because that's too painful. I don't want to go through that pain in case it goes wrong and I don't end up offing myself. There's no guns in the UK. I can't off myself with guns. I mean, I couldn't find a single way. Overdosing isn't always gonna work. You might just end up with organ failure to a degree where you're still alive, but you just have horrible health issues. So I just never did it. And I thought at one point, oh snap, I might just, I've heard about, let me try that out. And I was actually so committed. I was ready to drink. We had in the bathroom. I was like, I'm ready to do it. But then I thought, let me just Google this real quick just to make sure, because I don't want to be an idiot and it doesn't work. And then lo and behold, it works. But you are going through like 4 hours of excruciating pain. So I said, you know what? Never mind. Fun that. I'm not doing that. So I never myself, and I'm really grateful. But it was last year when I was feeling this suicidal and I was actually experiencing them shunning me that I actually came to a realization, which was kind of a dangerous realization. I've lived by a train track for 10 plus years and I never even deeped that that's an effective form of suicide. And these trains move quick enough, and it's literally like I can walk 40 meters and I'm at the track, 30 meters, 35 meters, like I'm right there. And finding a way out was almost a relief for me. Like I could actually just do this. Obviously I thought, I've got subscribers that care about me, but they'll move on. I'm not that significant. I didn't really deep the impact I've had on anyone at that point, because at this point your self-esteem is gone, everything is gone. And the only reason I never hopped onto that track was I had two strong reasons, because all my friends, as I said, all my subscribers, I thought they'll move on. My friends that I do still have, I was like, they'll move on. I'm not that significant in their lives. They've got other people that they care about. But I had two reasons that I didn't, and that was my dad and my girl, and that was it. I knew that they wouldn't be able to live with themselves if I offed myself. They were the two reasons that I stayed alive. I didn't want to. I was vexed. I was actually vexed at the fact that they cared about me, because there's a point when you feel so much pain that it feels like nothing will end this, so I might as well just die. It feels like it's torture. Being alive just feels horrible, and this was a legitimate way out, and I was happy, like, oh, finally I can end it. And then I had these two people that cared so much about me, and I could never have done that to them, and I was actually so annoyed. I was like, damn man, I'm just gonna have to go through this, because it felt like there was no way out. So the only way I was able to distract myself from this feeling was by consuming myself entirely into boxing to an unhealthy rate, I'm gonna be honest, to the point where I wasn't even training the way I enjoyed training. I wasn't even healthy. Sometimes I'd go days without eating because I couldn't be bothered to eat, but I'd still be running, I'd still be training. I was losing a lot of weight. I wasn't feeling fit at all, but I just consumed myself into boxing. Then I told myself, you know what, I've got to move forward. This has happened, whatever, I'm not going to end it. I've got a job to do. I've got big dreams. I've got big ambitions for myself and for those I care about. So I started thinking, I got to focus yet again on YouTube. But what kept happening is I was trying to distance myself from this religion. Some people who leave the religion decide to become activists and start speaking up about it, like, this is a cult, blah, 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 blah. I said to myself, I'm never going to move on if I do that. Fair dues, it wronged me and all this, but I'm never going to move on if I become an activist. So I said, let me just move on with my life. But the difficult thing was, while I was trying to move on, these people were still obsessing over me. They were still coming over to my house to visit my family members that were still in the religion. So I'm trying to move on and forget this part of what's happened in my life, and these people that treat me like I'm dead, and they're right there in my living room. As I said, I'm bumping into them in town. It started to get increasingly difficult for me mentally. So I'd keep being okay, and it'd be a cycle, and you guys might have recognized it. I'd be posting constant videos on YouTube. I'd be okay, and then something would happen, and I'd get depressed again.
Last night, I was just crying. I was just completely gone. Like, I struggled to fall asleep. Them nights when you're just like, I don't know if I can sleep. I had to wait till my body shut down, like till I was just Like I literally woke up in the most awkward position because I'd just been like, just crying. I didn't get to bed, if that makes any sense. I didn't get to, whatever. In case you're wondering what depressed me, I just found out that those two supposed parents that I've been speaking to members of my family to tell those members of my family that they also must treat me like I'm dead. And I was like, what? That's foul. Like, that's disgraceful. And I think, I'm not gonna lie, last night, like a little part of me died because I don't think I fully processed the feeling, not just being treated like I'm dead, but I guess being wronged at this point by two people I held so close as if they were parents. I'm going through all this and you choose to ignore me. But not only do you choose to ignore me, you choose to tell my family, urge my family to ignore me just because I disagree with those amen. That's mad. My own flesh and blood should treat me like I'm dead because of that.
You lot have wronged me. I've never done anything to you. You lot have wronged me. And what are you doing? You're encouraging other people to wrong me as well? I've never done anything to you. And it broke me down again. So there was just this constant cycle of pushing the feelings down, pushing them, hiding them, and just focusing, consuming myself in my craft. And then something happening and me basically getting smacked back down, getting knocked down, and then trying to recover again. And this was horrible. This is why you will notice I'll be posting consistently for 4 weeks, maybe even 5. Then I'd stop and I'd do it again and then I'd stop. It was just that I was constantly going through this fluctuation. And then something happened as of late where I realized I had to actively work through these feelings rather than pushing them down. It's ironic because I've said that to you guys, work through your feelings, but I actually had to actively work through my feelings. I'm not going to be too specific because of respect of my father. That's all it is. I got so much respect for my father, so I don't want to disrespect him and in referring to my family. But one of my family members got married, and as a result, these supposed second parents, these people who was really close to me growing up, and all these cult members, even from back in Norway where I grew up, a lot of them came to my town. A lot of them were coming to his wedding, going to his reception, and I wasn't even able to go to his reception because I wasn't a witness anymore. And I think this was my sibling. At the time, I believed him to be my closest sibling. When I say I drowned in suicidal thoughts, I can't even explain it. Like this was the most painful time since leaving for me. And I genuinely wanted to off myself again. The train track was right there and I was like, you know what? Like, I was so close and I would never do it. And at that point, I still had those 2 reasons. And this was until I read an email. But I was torn. I was severely torn. I couldn't deal with myself. And it hurt. I felt like I was invalidated by my family. It felt like I was being stabbed in the back by my own family. It really hurt. It was a really difficult feeling. It was just tough. I can't go too in depth, but there was a lot more to it, but I can't go too in depth about it. But it really, really, really sucked, man. It really sucked. But then something popped back into my head. This was an email I'd read amidst all of this mess, and this email popped right back into my head, and I remembered and I realized I need to take action based off this email. I'll read this email to you. This genuinely touched my heart on another level. And when I say this email touched my heart, I mean it. I get a lot of DMs from you guys on IG. A lot of you tell me that, I've been feeling suicidal and seeing your videos have helped me out so much. I just want to say thank you so much. Those of you who've been dealing with depression as well, thank you so much. And I've a few guys sent emails as well about this topic. Obviously other things as well, but about this topic. But this email I received really, really, really stood out to me. I'm going to read it to you guys. I actually forgot to ask permission to read this email, but I'm not going to include his name. He didn't write his name in it. And also, I'm sure he'd be okay with this. Well, if you listen to this email, you'd understand. He said, firstly, this might be a long email, but it's one I think you need to hear. So please read it. I want to congratulate you on your journey so far on YouTube and overcoming your personal demons. Your positivity and determination is a quality I hope to achieve someday. You seem like a pure soul. You treat all human beings as equal, which is what we need in this world today. I really want you to know that I look at you as a brother. I don't want nothing from you. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing your journey. Words cannot convey how thankful I am for your story. I was bullied at school and made fun of. I've been as low as anyone could go. I was literally so close to ending my life, but I came across your videos and I found out I wasn't alone. I too grew up in a strict religious environment and felt suffocated. I'm 25 years old, fat, overweight, ugly. I don't have a single friend in my life. I'm working in a public service job which pays well well so I can pay off my parents' debts. My father died 10 years ago. I am the oldest. I take care of my ill mother and my siblings. This is the type of job my mom wants me to do, and I owe my life to her. I work 6 days a week, 12 to 15 hour shift. I've wanted to become an MMA fighter, but my circumstances won't allow me. Doctors told me my mom can potentially die if she faces any distress, so I prefer to live the normal life. I just want you to know you will always have my support. I hope you make it far in your boxing journey, turn professional, and become a champion one day. Not to sound weird, but I am somewhat living vicariously through you because you are able to chase your dreams, something I don't have the luxury of. I really wish you nothing but success. I pray that God bestows his blessings and bounty upon you. I really want you to succeed far beyond your wildest imagination. Don't let the haters get to you. The fact that you have haters is a sign that you're successful. You have impacted my life positively, and that says a lot about you as a person. I just hope you read this email, and then he went on to, But when I read this email, it struck so differently from all the others. Although all the others, I don't want any of you lot to think I don't appreciate your emails. I really do. But deep in that, even in my choice of living has given strength to this man. I'm so grateful, and I just want to say yet again, I know I've sent you an email back, but thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate it. You can even send me another email back, man. We can keep talking, man, but just thank you so much, bro. I really, really, really appreciate that, man. And when I was dwelling on this email, I read it earlier amidst this, but during this time of the wedding, as all my family was coming for the wedding and everything, I read this email again. I remembered it, and I deeped. I have a responsibility not just to my father, to my girl, but also to you guys, to not all of you lot, of course. Some of you lot just watch me for entertainment. Some of you lot probably hate me and just watch me to keep up with what's going on. Some of you lot just watch me for information, which is still cool. But some of you lot are my true supporters. You lot have actual love for me, you know what I mean? And deep in that, imagine if I did it off myself. That's not funny, but like that, I mean, what would it have done to those of you who are feeling suicidal, who are feeling depressed? And it basically just gave me a third reason to live. That was, as I said, I have my father, I have my girl, and I have you guys. Like, genuinely, you don't understand how much impact you lot have had on me. Like, those of you emailing me, those real supporters, man, how much impact. Even those who haven't even felt suicidal just hit me up in general. It's insane. And I've realized that, I mean, this was the closest I've come to actually offer myself. I basically realized that I need to actually take time and actually heal. I want to advance my business, and I'm on them now, but I realized I had to take time, because what business is there if I'm dead, right? Let's just be completely honest. What is there if I'm gone? And because I was at a point, as I said, where I didn't even want anything for myself. I wasn't living for myself. I couldn't give two flying street word for droppings at all for myself. All I cared about was around me that I cared about. That's the only reason I was living. I wasn't living for myself. So I realized I had to address these issues, and the best way to do that was taking time off social media. I've still been working during this time, just kind of behind the scenes on my training plans, a boxing training plan, which is, it will be out within the next week. It's almost finished. I'm just doing some final things with it, and I'm developing my calisthenics training plans a bit different. I'm going to sell you guys basically plans with muscle, strength, and combat as a focus. Combat will have power and whatever. I'll go into it in another video. I've got a lot of goals, but my point is, I needed to take my time to regain my sanity. Basically, what had been happening was, I feel like I was in a fight, and I kept getting knocked down and then standing right back up, pretending that I wasn't hurt. And all this was doing was giving my opponent an opportunity to crack me again. So I realized that this time I needed to go down, stay down, and wait to the count of 8, right? Take my 8 count and then stand back up. Give myself time to recover. And that's what I've been doing. I took my 8 count. I needed the time to be down, stay down, so I could get better. And that's what I've been doing. So right now, I'm in a whole better place. Mentally, I feel so much better because I've actually addressed it. I've taken the time to feel sorry for myself. I've taken the time to feel bad, and I've never felt better than I do right now. So for one, I do want to give my apologies to you lot. Those of you who I have kind of abandoned when I was gone, I do apologize. I needed to do this for me. I'm gonna be honest, I needed to. I just needed to do this for myself in this situation. But I guess if you lot do like me, I was doing it for you too, because, I'm here still, you know what I'm saying? During this time though, I was so close to ending it. I really kind of thought to myself, if I was to end it, would I be proud of what I've done in my life? And I realized because of this situation, I've not been at my greatest self. A lot of you lot are inspired by who I was as a kid, as a teenager. That was my greatest self, and I've not been my greatest self for a while. I feel like we all have a greater energy and a lower energy. If you're Hamza, you might be referring to Jeffrey and Adonis. We all have our lower self and our greater self, and I believe I've been operating in my lower self for quite some time. I feel like I was smacked into it, but I've been operating in that for quite some time, and I needed to get into my greater self. This self achieves everything I set my mind to. I'm gonna be a whole nother beast when I'm in my greater self boxing as well. So yeah, I've been operating in my greater self, and I'm very proud of what I've become now mentally, where I'm at, and I'm just going to show that to you guys. So there will be a lot more consistent videos coming for you lot.
If you are dealing with suicidal thoughts or anything like that, if you're feeling depressed, please, 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 let me be a form of refuge. Let my videos be a form of refuge. Message me, man. DM me. But don't DM me like a massive paragraph yet, though. Like, obviously, if you're depressed, by all means, I get it. That's calm. But if you guys ever want advice, a massive paragraph, like a massive one that you lot send most of the time, I have a lot of messages coming through. It's tough for me to respond to that. If you do message, don't also message, can I ask you a question? Because you already asked me a question. You might as well ask me the actual question. A voice message is easier to respond to. But yeah, just hit me up, man. I'm gonna be as active as I can for you lot. A lot of your emails, if you have sent me, like this guy from Discord, I think he emailed you, messaged me again, but IG only lets me see an amount of message requests. After that, it doesn't show me everyone else's messages. So then, like, I just have to respond to everyone to get to everyone else. But there's so much to respond to. So I'm good. I wanted to drop a video earlier. I had a fight that I wanted to show you guys. So I wanted to come back with a fight or two, you know, just to be a bit more motivational, not just show you guys me, you know. And I had a fight booked for September 30th this year, and I was ready, training hard as heck. I was ready to maul this man, right, to assail him. And then guess what happened? I was sparring like 2 weeks leading up to the fight, or 3 weeks leading up to the fight, and I cracked my rib, so I couldn't fight, and it was really bad. So I couldn't fight, and I was like, man. But that's cool. I just continued working on my training plans, whatever. And I couldn't train for a bit, at least a week. I couldn't train at all, but I could train lightly after that. But I couldn't fight. I wasn't fight ready. Well, fight fit, you know. And then I had another fight booked for tomorrow, November 17th, because this is when I'm recording this video. And I was ready for this fight. I was training hard for this fight. Oh my goodness, I was ready. I was even like. Anyways, this video was meant to be over this fight video, and then the fight got called off because something along the lines of like the communication with the other coach, whatever. It's not happening. So I'm just a bit vexed. I don't get to fight, but I've been training a lot. So I thought, you know what? Let me not make you lot wait. I logged back into YouTube, and I started reading you lot's comments. When I started posting my shorts, I started reading you lot's comments, and I realized that a lot of you lot missed me, and I was like, man, I can't just be waiting till I have a fight to talk to you lot. I gotta be active, you know. So I'm back better than ever. It's B4 Flex. I named it B4 Flex. It's long, so I'll make another video talking about my name. But I changed my name back. I got merch coming your way very soon. I got videos, regular videos, and I mean regular videos, because I'm good now. I'm not out here pretending I'm good and being like regular videos, and then tomorrow I'm gonna be depressed in a dark space. No, that's not gonna be the situation anymore. I'm gonna be posting regularly for you lot. But let me not talk too much. Let me just show you. But yeah, as I said, for those of you who love me, who support me, I apologize for being gone, man. I really do. I didn't want to abandon you like that. I just had to do it for myself mentally, so that I could actually be alive to post another day, you know? It's B4 Flex, and I'm out.